Here we
What
are.
we got going today?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA. And we're going to be talking about scientific marketing, scientific advertising. But before we do, let's have some fun. And here is Sasquatch. And mess this up. This is supposed to be going when I start, but it isn't. So we won't have a good thumbnail for LinkedIn, I don't think. But anyway, here we go. Jack's Links.
We've all got a wild side. Feed it with meat. Jack Links, feed your wild side.
Okay. I like it because it's 5. It's only 15 seconds. And then we can get to the rest of the news, which we all enjoy, right? We always enjoy the rest of the news. So here we go. So Sasquatch unleashes chaos in new Jack's Link. Feed your wild side. And so what happens is the barber takes a bite of Jack's beef jerky and traditional and uses a chainsaw to cut the hair. And there's another one, which I'm not going to show, which is a little bit off color, if you ask me. Sasquatch is a beloved brand, a beloved icon for the brand, a spokesbeast that helped grow the brand into what it is today. Fallon creative director Justin Miller tells Marketing Daily his role in Feed Your Wild Side is as true today as when the initial campaign launched. One goal of the campaign is to introduce younger consumers to the brand, which launched in 1986. Can you imagine how time flies, right? And that's from Steve Ellwanger from Marketing Daily. Okay, this was an interesting one. Sensors blocked. This site has been blocked from accessing your mobile sensors. Continue blocking or manage or done. This popped up on a site this morning called DigiDay. And I use somebody, they tested 9 sensors in this wired and 9 browsers in this wired ad. But, you know, your browser, especially on your mobile phone, but even on your regular phone, your browser has to know what kind, or has to know, the website that you're surfing on has to know what kind of browser you're using, more or less, and has to know whether, to make the thing little or make it desktop or whatever it is. So your computer sends information to the website and it scales the images and, does a lot of good stuff to it. Okay. And what I was thinking was, when I saw this pop up, sensors blocked, motion sensor, especially this idea of motion sensors, I thought, wow, they're finally figuring it out. Remember I talked to you about how mail, we know we get engagement, right? Because it won't throw itself away, right? So even if you don't buy from a direct mail offer, you have to engage with it, right? So we know you engage with it. And so we know who engaged with it and bought. Everybody knows that because they bought. They have to, buy something. Well, not everybody. The packaged goods companies don't know it because you're buying at retail. Well, they might know it. They might not. Depends on if you use your pig card. There's a lot of ifs in there. But you can just go in and buy a pack of Jack's jerky, and they don't know who you are, and you go home and they never know. Okay. Also, in direct mail, we know who engaged because it doesn't throw itself out, and who didn't buy. And that's magic. That lets us have a labeled data set. So we know where the fire hydrant is in the picture, and we know where the fire hydrant isn't. And you need both of those pieces of information to do effective machine learning, which is why we can make millions in machine learning, and the rest of the world hasn't got a way to figure it out because they're missing the most important part, which is the labeled data set. Anyway, so I was thinking when this popped up, woo, they're going to keep track of whether I'm moving in front of my computer, and then they'll know that I at least was there. Because the problem with digital advertising is we not only don't know who who saw the ad. We don't know if they're paying any attention. We don't know if they're even in front of the computer. We don't even know, we don't know who got served up to. No, you don't. Not on Facebook and Google Ad Network, etc. You don't know unless you upload your list, which you can do. It's more expensive, but you can do it. But most people don't do it. Most people say, well, find me some middle-aged, I don't know what, middle-aged, high-income people or something. So in digital, you don't know who it got served to. You don't know if they were paying any attention. Might have been out on the outside pieces and they just didn't pay attention. And you certainly don't know if they engaged with it. But if we could tell if they were alive and breathing and really was sitting there, at least we would know that someone was sitting there. Unlike, just for fun the other night, I left my YouTube. I'm looking at sailing channels, and I just let it go. I wanted to see where it would end up in the morning, and I just let it autoplay, dunk, 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 and of course I wasn't there at all. So I thought this was going to solve that, but that's not what this is. And here's an article from Wired. I always like Wired articles from Lily Hay Newman, and it's a little bit long, and it says basically because of that interaction between your browser and the website itself, and because they have to shape that content to your browser, you'll get the message from an app that says, we want your location, right? And sometimes you get it from a website, like a national retailer like Best Buy will pop up a window and say, we want to access your location. Most of them just do it, say this is the closest store, but sometimes they ask. Good coffee. So, but on mobile, the apps ask, but the websites don't. So a lot of times I'll use a mobile website rather than an app because I just don't like having apps on my phone. Plus they can grab information in background, whereas the websites only get it while you're on the website. So that's an advantage. I'm trying to think of an example of where I use, ESPN would be a good one. I use ESPN a lot. The mobile website is actually better than the desktop or the mobile app for what I want it for, because I don't want to read all about women's badminton, let's just say. It's not a sport I follow. There's 100 other sports I don't follow. But they don't allow you to tell them what you don't want to see. They only ask you what you do want to see. So on the mobile website, you can hit a button that says scores, and then you get only the results and the schedule for the people you want to follow. It's not available on the at least I don't think it is, and you have to log in to get anything on the desktop. But on the mobile, it just, there it is. I think I'm already logged in, so I just don't bother with it anywhere else. So anyway, I do use mobile apps. Oftentimes I use them in preference I use mobile websites in preference. Anyway, and they found thousands of these websites are tracking your location in some way, shape, or form. They did try out 9 different, it was funny, they tried out 9 different browsers. I thought this was funny, and none of them are what I use. Chrome, Edge, Safari, Firefox, Brave, Focus, Dolphin, Opera, Mini, and UC browser. I use some combination of most of those, but I actually use I don't know what it's called. I was going to say Delphi. It's something like that. And it's a derivation from Brave, but it blocks even more cookies and things. For a marketing guy, I'm not much fun for those trackers. Okay, anyway, so excellent article. Now you know if you see this pop up, there's actually it was a little indicator that I moused over up here in this thing. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what this browser is. It's like I said, it's a derivation of Brave. I got it on Gab. Okay, so why your brand should pivot from direct to consumer to retail. And this is I hadn't heard about this trend. Okay, this is a very timely article from Adweek. and it I don't know that much about retail, I have to say. I've worked with some huge retailers. and we've done some great work. But, the actual process of retail, I don't have that much experience. But anyway, they said with the removal of third-party cookies, the low barrier to entry, in other words, a lot of competition, whatever you come up with and is successful in D2C, someone is going to knock it off. The supply and demand of digital direct-to-consumer marketing platforms create a challenge for almost every consumer packaged goods sector. Okay, and what they really said was, you can't make money. What this says is you can't make money at direct to consumer, and there's a lot of truth to that. It's hard, right? It's hard because the pay per click has multiplied by 1,000% since 2006 when we started tracking it, which is when it really started. Okay, direct to consumers. A pivot takes a contrarian stance on the unavoidable takeover, I love this line, of online consumers. Smart brands are leaning into national retail relationships with a physical and digital footprint. And I started thinking about it. I started thinking about a clever little K's Candies, I think it's called. And I've been talking with them for really like 35 years or something. And they just got a new relationship with one of the convenience chains that is thousands and thousands of stores, and it's their salesperson talking to the buyer, and it's not a big decision for the chain, and it's a huge sale for this little company. You can make those wins in retail, if you get started, and it's not something you have to do right away. You can probably think about it, but oftentimes there are requirements for how much can you ship. How much do you have in reserve? If it really takes off, what are we going to do? And sometimes that's what kills you when you make that shift. Anyway, so bottom line, first, your brand can embrace a retailer's online opportunities. That's true. Oftentimes, retailers will allow you to also ship them to their warehouse. Sometimes you ship them to their warehouse or distribution center, and they fulfill to the store most of the time. Sometimes you fulfill directly to the store. Each retailer can be different, and sometimes you can fulfill to their online distribution. But here's the numbers. Second, the numbers don't lie. Projections for 2024 suggest 72% of retail stores will occur offline. And what they mean by retail is not in-store. What they mean by is all consumer purchasing of consumer goods. That basically 3/4 of it is still at the store in 2024, still. So yeah, e-commerce keeps growing. It's been the big news, but it was kind of a lie. Whenever we saw those up 25%, e-commerce in real small type is up 25%. Yeah, okay, but it didn't amount to a hill of beans, right? That up 25% was still only 10% of retail sales. Okay, so brick and mortar stores are still the predominant driver of purchases. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do direct to consumer. And my argument would be that if you're in retail, you should do some direct to consumer. Everybody should do some direct to consumer because we have the engagement. We can tell what's going on. We can show you what's working. And then you can pour gas on it with your digital or with your relationships in retail. You can use those to leverage your relationship with retailers who want to get in on the next big thing. Years ago, I did some work with Sonicare, and they were just coming out, and they told me what they were doing, and they said they were, talking to Walgreens, and they were talking to other retailers, and they just couldn't get much traction. But they were talking also to Sharper Image, and I said, cultivate that sharper image. Just get in there anyhow, any way you can, because all of the retailers looked at that time to catalogers for new product ideas. So your direct-to-consumer is a good way to get your product noticed and then leverage that to get back into retail. So it's not an either-or thing. And oftentimes, since you already have a direct-to-consumer presence, they'll allow you to keep selling. So I worked with Chicago Cutlery, General Housewares, and they were selling direct-to-consumer covertly. They just put the 800 number on their packaging and on their product somewhere, especially on their fry pans. They had an 800 number. You could buy, a lid for the fry pan. The retailer might not handle the lid. In fact, I noticed it's a trend. Most fry pans don't come with lids. It's a real puzzle. And my daughter got me a beautiful clear lid at the Goodwill store. It was like $1, and it fits like a glove on this beautiful fry pan that I have. So covert is a good start. Just doing a little bit, but we can leverage that for a lot of market information, more than you'll get from the retailer oftentimes. Okay, with 70%, 74% of shoppers making purchase in store, building mainstream brand awareness exclusively online is nearly impossible. And there's the false assumption that direct to consumer leads to greater customer loyalty than working with traditional retailers. All true. Okay, so anyway, it's an excellent article. I'm not going to go to the rest of it where it tells you how to get into retail. That's another thing. That's not my thing. But let's get finally to finish up. Direct response copy is based on science. And here's Craig Huey. Most traditional agencies create branding, art, and copy. And the reason is they're not really talking direct. They're not talking in an environment where a consumer can buy right now. They have to go to a retailer's website or they have to go someplace. And so, especially for consumer packaged goods, they just want to get in your head. They want, like Jack's Sasquatch. They just want to get in your head so that when you're standing there in front of all the beef jerky, you think, oh, I want the Sasquatch one, right? But that doesn't motivate your prospect to respond. No. Being in front of, at the Quick Trip or the 7-Eleven, in front of that rack of you're already in front of the rack of jerky. Which one are you going to pick? Sasquatch, right? So in that context, it makes sense. But direct response marketing is based on the science of what makes advertising effective. And what I mean by effective is what generates a response right now. So the tried and true direct response copy, and I talked to Carl. I see if I get his name wrong. Carl Giadetti or something like that. He's the one who put together the scientificadvertising.com. It wasn't loading for some reason on one of my browsers, and so I called him up on the phone and said didn't seem to be working. And sure enough, it was working. But we had a nice conversation, and it's the 100th anniversary of Claude Hopkins' seminal book called Scientific Advertising, and everyone who writes any kind of advertising copy should definitely get it, but anybody in advertising, anybody in marketing should definitely give it a read. And he explains that he didn't come up with most of this stuff. The direct mail people did. For 50 years they've been testing. Okay. Now you've got 150 years of testing. And so you got to listen to guys like Craig and myself, I hope. So first, grab the attention of your prospect, position your company and your product in your prospect's mind, identify your unique selling proposition, which Craig focuses a lot of energy on. Overcome your prospect's skepticism and objections, not objectives, probably objections. Create a branding effect that will help you gain market share. And what he's saying here is not mutually exclusive. I mean, if you only do branding without a response device, you probably won't receive responses directly. But you can create advertising with a response device that also does create a branding effect. Okay, so why not do both? Direct response copy doesn't necessarily begin with a clever idea. It begins with you. And what we mean by you is them, your customer. Okay, so a good landing page your prospect will discover what's unique. And remember, yesterday we talked about discover versus learn. Bob Hacker, that's the name of the guy. I actually looked it up. Bob Hacker taught me that discover, that word, much more powerful than learn, because learn has school associations. Okay, decide exactly how your prospect will benefit. Create a specific, clear theme. Develop a personal one-on-one relationship. Don't oversell that. It's not really a relationship. It's a sale. You get the sale. Reveal your unique selling proposition to your prospect. USP. Okay, so there he talks about that. So that was excellent. Thank you for that, Craig Huey. All right, good stuff. I actually went home and read the entire Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl that I talked about yesterday. It's up on yesterday's show notes. Vinny, thank you for subscribing. It's great to hear from you, of course. I hope this is going out on LinkedIn. I didn't get any messages from LinkedIn. It says it is. I don't know. I can't really tell until I get done with the show whether it's broadcasting or not. It says it is. Yesterday it didn't, and we overcame that. But I'm going to re-upload the entire Viktor Frankl book with my show note highlights, except I did this last night. It took about 3 or 4 hours to read the entire book. Powerful, powerful book. It will change your life. I mean, it can. Absolutely. The search for meaning is more important than Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And you don't have to. Oh, good. Thank you, David. If you wonder if this is live, it is. So, Viktor Frankl, highly, highly recommend it. David, you should talk to the other David, David Baer, and we should talk about Viktor Frankl versus Abraham Maslow, because everybody buys into Maslow. You can't give of yourself until you've got everything comfy. That's a lie. Read Viktor Frankl. It's up there on the show notes. You go to wdma.org. You subscribe. It's free. We're not going to spam you. We're only going to if we have a get together, we'll tell you about it. That's about it for us. So have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart. Bye bye.